Hi and welcome, my courageous adventurers. Today we are here with Mickey. She is going to tell us about the game In Sound Mind that she played recently. I did not have the chance to actually play this title, so she's going to tell us all about it. But first thing first, how you doing today, Mickey?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me back on.
Hey, it's an honor for us to have you on here, especially when you have good info like this to bring us new games. So we always want to spread the word when it comes to that. As always, click on the like button if you like this. It will help us create more content like this. Subscribe if you want to see more. Without any further review, can you give me an overview of what is In Sound Mind?
Yeah, with pleasure. So the overall summary of the game. So you play as a Desmond, who's a psychiatrist who along in throughout the game you pick up tapes, cassette tapes for all you youngins out there. So it has like a recording with each of his patients that he's had. And it's kind of like a session. So it's a recording of his previous psychiatric sessions with each of his patients. It follows four patients, and the cool thing about this is each level is based on the story and struggle of each patient.
Okay, that's something that I like. So it's is it like every chapter is a different patient?
Yeah, exactly. So it takes place there's four different patients that you kind of go through. So it starts with you kind of finding their tape, you play the tape, and then that kind of transports you into that patient's mind and psyche.
And there goes the title In Sound Mind. Okay.
Exactly, exactly. So it's very relevant. So it's very cool because each level, the level design is very unique and it's shaped by each patient's tragic story. They all have like a kind of a tragic story, and obviously they've experienced trauma that gets them to that point where they have to actually go see Desmond, the psychiatrist.
And is it when you say every patient is a different basically every level is based on a different patient, does that change the gameplay, or is it just the atmosphere, or like the level design, or can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So it actually changes the level design, and the atmosphere of each level is different. There are some enemies that do carry throughout each level that are the same. So they're kind of like a basic baddies that kind of show up, but each level does have its own boss,
Okay.
kind of, and the boss is all unique to each patient. So it almost seems like the patient kind of turns into the boss, like the psyche
Oh,
or the
okay.
emotional trauma of the boss is related to the actual patient and what they've struggled and their tragedy that they've experienced. So each of those is unique, which is something I really liked.
All right, that sounds really cool, really cool. And when you said that every level ends with like basically the boss, which is a combination of the trauma. You say that. Would you say that this makes this more like a psychological horror game, psychological thriller?
I would say it's more of a psychological thriller. It's something where it kind of wants to keep you on the edge of your toes, where you do want to keep seeing each chapter develop. And there's also a cool thing too that kind of happens with it because Desmond, the psychiatrist who's also experiencing each patient's emotional trauma, he's also dealing with his own stuff as well because as he's reliving these kind of recordings of what happened to each patient, he's also having to deal with his own kind of emotional psychological turmoil because he's getting a lot of self-doubt and he's kind of carrying a lot of guilt because he's like,
Hmm.
should I have been doing more to prevent these patients from ending up in the kind of position that they ended up in? Was it something that I did? Should I have been a better psychiatrist? So you also have to deal with his self-doubt, which I thought was interesting as well.
Doc? Doc, are you there?
Is there anybody out there? Hello?
And just like, by curiosity, was there like seven bosses, seven chapters, seven levels?
No, it was about 4 patient levels, and then at the end there's like an overall kind of like 5th big baddie at the end that you have to beat to finish the game.
Okay, so it's not based on Dante's Inferno. That's just I was
Yeah.
looking for. All right.
You'll have to enlighten me about what Dante's Inferno is.
Oh well, I mean, we can. Yeah, I'll definitely let you know at some point.
Okay,
When you
cool.
ask a nerd to tell you about something, you're like, oh, you're about to get it now.
Yeah, well, I don't think we have 2 hours to spare to like veer off into like Dante's
Not
Inferno.
now, but at some point. At some point, we might even talk about the game Dante's Inferno. Uh, so with a game like this, I'm sure that because of course we always want to recommend the games to people. We want to talk about the structure of the game. What are the things that you liked about the game?
Yeah, so there were a lot of pros. So the pros definitely like outweighed the cons, but I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed kind of discovering like what each patient was going through and how each level design and area and the puzzles and the items that you collect throughout the game, throughout each level is kind of related to that particular patient.
hmm And would you say that a game like that is more of a walking simulator? Would you say it's more of a, like, let's say trippy things are happening? What is the level of involvement of the gameplay, or is it really more like narrative driven? As you said that the story was good.
Yeah, there's walking, there's a lot of walking simulator action going on, but there's also some gunplay as well. So you do
Okay.
get some weapons. And then you also get a variety of tools to kind of help you navigate through the level and to navigate each puzzle. So you have to decide what you need in certain moments to be able to finish, to get to the end.
And what do you think about the gameplay overall?
Okay, so to be fair, like the gameplay, I found it a little bit clunky.
hmm
I found to be able to rotate through each item that you needed, especially in moments of battle or when you're kind of feeling the pressure, I found it just a little bit clunky to kind of rotate and figure out what you need. Also, reloading your weapon, I didn't like that as well.
hmm
Um, I found that that could have been a little more solid or had a better feel to it. But like overall, it didn't deter me from wanting to finish the game.
And it is a game that was made by a smaller team. It is a game that is considered an indie game. And if I see it correctly, it was made in 2021. So just so people know that it's a game that's already a couple of years old, 2 years old, 3 years now. But all in all, what was the cons? Because you said there's a couple of cons in the game as well. I want people to know about these. What were the cons that you noticed?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like the cons were like obviously like the clunky gameplay. In each level that you do encounter, there are some generic kind of like shadow enemies that show up that you do have to shoot through. And I found that every time they showed up, they kind of took me out of the like ambiance and like of the like kind of like just wanting to discover and unravel like the story of the game. It's like, okay, now we have to like stop what we're doing and stop maybe our puzzling to go shoot these guys.
So they were not like the Alan Wake shadows.
Yeah. No, they weren't. They were just annoying, not scary. That's for sure. Yeah. I mean, I wish they were Alan Wake Shadows because those guys were super scary. But yeah, no, for these ones, I just found they were probably put in there to make sure it wasn't just a full walking simulator, that there was actually, some involvement and some, you have your shotgun, you have your gun, and a few more like weapons that you can like cycle through. But another con for me as well is some people will call this a horror game, depending upon your level of like scary that you can handle. I mean, my level of scary that I can handle is pretty high up there, so I wouldn't call it a horror game per se, but there were some parts that were eerie and like kind
Okay.
of spooky. But for me, like I never felt a feeling of like being scared.
So
So
more of a
maybe it's
spooky game
a
than a
bit
horror
wrong.
game.
Sorry, pardon me?
More of a spooky game than a horror game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, for some people, they might think it's a horror game and they might feel that like very intense pressure and that dread and kind of like they don't want to open the door because they're scared of what's going to be behind it. But I never felt that way.
It's okay.
I just,
We all know what you're
yeah,
talking. You're referring to me. She's referring to me. I don't like horror games. Let's play some of them, and I
I
play
know.
them with a lot of trepidation. Oh yeah. Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not here to put anyone under the bus or like call anybody out. Like, it just, it depends. Depends if you have your big boy pants on or not.
Hey, I'm the guy that was lobbying for the Telltale Walking Dead to be a horror game because I was like, hey man, this thing is making me feel all types of way. Uh, so, all in all, would you recommend this game to for people to play? Do you think it's a nice change, a story that's at least worth going through?
Yeah, yeah, I would recommend this to other people for sure. Like I like the puzzles. I thought they were great. I thought the color, like the overall color and design of the game looked really cool.
Hmm.
Like I said, the story looked cool. The story was great as well. And the introduction of each boss at the end kind of with a different kind of vibe made it engaging. So it was definitely something that I wanted to get through. And to be fair, like this was to me, this was a palate cleanser after playing Alan Wake. So I found it a little more relaxing.
Sorry, yeah, that's your palate cleanser between okay. Just
I
so
have
between
weird,
two horror games, I'm just gonna play another horror game.
yeah,
Because it's not really horror, it's just spooky. So you see
yeah,
now, people, why I get Mickey on these videos is because I am not a horror aficionado. I am pretty much trepidatious when it comes to these things, but she's always there to come into a clutch and let you know which games are worth your time if this is your kind of genre of games. I thank you very much for dropping by to bring these little nuggets for the people. Once again, leave your comments down below if you've ever played this game, if you plan on playing this game. Let us know what you thought about it in the comments box down below. As always, have yourself a good one. Thank you very much, Mickey.
bye. Thank you.
See y'all on the flip side.
Epic drop.